So it's dawn of the Yogi Yug in Uttar Pradesh as Yogi Adityanath, the Member of Parliament from Gorakhpur, took oath in Lucknow to become the Chief Minister of this BJP-ruled state in presence of the Prime Minister and BJP President and a host of Union Ministers, Chief Ministers of all BJP-ruled states. The big question is whether now the Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas will be the reality of Uttar Pradesh. Will the Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath be different from Gorakhpur MP Yogi Adityanath, who's been under the shadow of controversial statements? Also taking oath today were two Deputy Chief Ministers, Keshav Prasad Maurya and Dinesh Sharma, and ministers of Yogi Adityanath cabinet who've been inducted. Nothing short of a social engineering is what we can see. The cabinet with 17 OBC ministers, 6 Dalit ministers, 7 Thakur, 8 Brahmin, 8 Kayast, 2 Jat ministers and even 1 Muslim face of Mohsin Raza making the cut for Yogi Adityanath's tenure to begin now. And he started on a very swift note, asking all the ministers to declare their assets in the next 15 days. Here are some highlights from the day and reactions.
केंद्र में भारतीय जनता पार्टी की सरकार ने विकास और सुशासन के माध्यम से सबका साथ और सबका विकास का जो संकल्प लिया है उसका पूरी तरह अनुसरण करते हुए प्रदेश सरकार राज्य की जनता की सेवा करेगी। उत्तर प्रदेश की कानून व्यवस्था चाक चौबंद रखने के लिए सरकार निरंतर पूरी सजग तरीके से कार्य करेगी। प्रदेश में शिक्षा का उन्नयन, युवाओं के लिए रोजगार के अवसरों में वृद्धि, आम जनता को स्वास्थ्य और परिवहन की अच्छी सुविधा प्राप्त हो, समाज के गरीब, दलित एवं पिछड़े वर्गों के कल्याण के लिए विशेष प्रयास किए जाएंगे। पूर्ववर्ती सरकारों के बदहाल शासन का खामियाजा प्रदेश की युवा पीढ़ी को भुगतना पड़ा है। युवाओं को गुणात्मक शिक्षा सुलभ हो ताकि कौशल विकास के माध्यम से उन्हें रोजगार के सुगम अवसर प्राप्त हों, इसके लिए भी प्रदेश सरकार पूरी संवेदनशीलता से कार्य करेगी।
So when Yogi Adityanath was interacting with the media, taking very limited questions, he said that BJP's Lok Sankalp Patra, that is the BJP's manifesto released in January ahead of UP polls, all of the demands will be met, all promises will be fulfilled. And the manifesto also mentions Ram Temple, shutting down of abattoir, and that's the fear of the minorities. Yogi Adityanath's Ascent has become a tough pill to swallow for many for the obvious controversial image that he has built over the years with his statements, and he's been termed as Hindutva hardliner by many. But 20% of population of Muslims in Uttar Pradesh is now fearing whether there will be increased polarization. BJP on its side has said there is no need to fear for any member of any community.
पैगंबर मोहम्मद की स्वयं की धरती पर, स्वयं की जन्मस्थली पर जो मस्जिद बनाई थी सऊदी अरब की सरकार ने उसको हटा दिया तो कोई नहीं बोला। अगर आप भारत माता की जय नहीं बोल सकते, अगर आप वंदे मातरम नहीं बोल सकते, तो फिर ये कहां पर लिखा है संविधान में कि तुम्हें इस देश में रहना ही रहना है? भारत माता की।
The firebrand saffron leader who uttered these words a few years ago is now the Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister.
मैं आदित्यनाथ योगी ईश्वर की शपथ लेता हूं कि
political leader of a state which houses more than 4 crore Muslims, leader of a party which did not field a single Muslim candidate in UP assembly polls. The outrage among the community against Yogi Adityanath as Chief Minister is palpable. A day after the shock announcement, top BJP leaders were at pains to assure the nation that the party and the new Chief Minister would take all along, promising inclusiveness, assuaging minority fears, even the erstwhile right-wing hardliners.
केंद्र में मोदी और प्रदेश में योगी, इन दोनों के संस्कार और उनकी मानसिकताएं इस प्रकार की हैं कि अब देश में सांप्रदायिक दृष्टि से जितने भी झगड़े हैं उनका समाधान होगा और राम जन्मभूमि में उसकी शुरुआत होगी।
Meanwhile, these were the images coming out of Gorakhpur, the constituency Yogi has served for the past 19 years. Members of the minority community celebrating his coronation. Surprisingly, the Muslim face of Samajwadi Party, Azam Khan, has been subdued in his response.
धार्मिक व्यक्ति को बनाया है, एक योगी को बनाया है और हिंदू धर्म में योगियों का सम्मान भी होता है, तो धार्मिक व्यक्ति के बारे में राय धार्मिक व्यक्ति ही दे तो ज्यादा बेहतर होगा।
Despite assurances by BJP leaders, there's still an air of incredulity amongst the minorities in UP. Yogi's appointment is sure to heighten tension in the short term. The ball is now strictly in BJP's court that will have to disprove this feeling of dread amongst 20% of minority population in the state. With video journalist Kripal Singh, this is Mosmi Singh in Lucknow for India Today.
All right, now let's go across to this interesting conversation my colleague Gaurav Sawant had where he talked about the rising fear of minority communities in Uttar Pradesh.
Huge mandate, huge challenge. Also, the fact that the opposition is already hitting out at Yogi Adityanath being elected chief minister. They're saying he's the Hindutva hardliner mascot. And there is, while the government may talk about development, it's the Hindutva hardline that the government wants to push through. I want to quickly bring in Zafar Islam, BJP spokesperson who joins us on the broadcast. Also with me is executive editor Javed Ansari and editor India Today, Ajit Jha. But Zafar Islam, respond to this criticism, sir, that it's a Hindu hardliner image that the BJP is now projecting with Yogi Adityanath as the chief minister.
There is no such agenda, Gaurav. As I said in your program earlier also, the only objective the Bharatiya Janata Party has to give a government which believes in good governance, which demonstrate good governance, which demonstrate and exhibit transparency, and which works in the interest of the state and which works for the welfare of the people of Uttar Pradesh. That is the only objective, and that has been all of them have been summed up in our Sankalp Path, and that will be the priority, and that is going to be implemented going forward. Let me tell you also that once the name was announced yesterday of the current chief minister, Mr. Yogi Adityanath, he said that he has three priorities, not in chronological order. All are three priorities at the same order. First, that inclusive approach, that he wants to take everyone along, sabka saath, sabka vikas. Development, that is the prime objective of our government, and that is something which we will deliver. And as an economist, as somebody, as an ex-investment banker, I know the huge opportunity for growth in Uttar Pradesh, because there hardly any developmental activities has happened in Uttar Pradesh.
Okay.
The fact that
the growth rate in Uttar Pradesh was over. But on delivery, Javed, you've been speaking to a cross-section of politicians and people across Uttar Pradesh. Why is there so much apprehension when the government is talking about development? The Prime Minister's tweet, the Chief Minister's first tweet was creating job opportunities. Why is it that the opposition is hitting out at saying secularism is under attack?
Largely because of Mr. Yogi's track record. The challenge before Mr. Yogi and also before the Prime Minister is to ensure that he delivers on the development work, on the development agenda that has been promised, to ensure that he provides safety, security, equal opportunity, jobs, employment, etc. for all of Uttar Pradesh, not just a section of Uttar Pradesh. It is the challenge is before Mr. Yogi Adityanath to prove his retractors wrong, to prove that in what he may have said, what he said in the past, that is a fact, it cannot be erased. But in practice, when it comes to being chief minister, he is different, he will deliver, and that he will treat all citizens of Uttar Pradesh equally. If he does that, the past will not matter.
Okay. Nawab Jafar Mir Abdullah, member of the royal family of Lucknow, also joins us on the broadcast. Nawab Sahab, in your opinion, what difference, does it make a difference that Yogi Adityanath is chief minister and not any of the other BJP faces that were being projected earlier?
First and foremost, I must congratulate the Prime Minister, the present Chief Minister, the two Deputy Chief Ministers and the Cabinet I feel this should not make any difference, because how they behaved, what was on their tongue, what was their body language will not be the same, because now they have to govern and they have to honor whatever they have promised for the society, for the people in general. Any caste, creed, community should be dealt with equally.
Okay.
That would be the positivity in the success.
You think people have no reason, minorities have no reason to feel apprehensive, especially when all the statements were being made about, you know, removing the illegal slaughterhouses, 317 odd slaughterhouses to be shut down. Will that not lead to tension in the state?
There is some doubt in the minds of the minority. But now, as the government has no hurdles, they have the full power, and they have said Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas. So now we feel whatever they have spoken, that is a matter of past, and to have a good governance, they will not be dealing or speaking it harshly, or with the body language also. They would be proving that they are really doing for everything and everybody.
Zafar Islam, what is your government's priority in Uttar Pradesh? Is it shutting down the illegal slaughterhouses? Development, when you speak of development, what is the first step going to be? Farm loan waiver, 80,000 crore farmers loan waiver, or closing down the illegal slaughterhouses?
The illegal slaughterhouse has to go, because that is illegal, and it's something illegal cannot continue. That is something which everyone understands. Then you also on a law and order situation, I think we will go on a specific, will form task force for the, because you know that Samajwadi Party gundas have grabbed lands, for land grabbers. So we will form a task force to understand who have grabbed land, and those so sort out those issues as well. Then we will also have a task force, many other activities which we have spoken in our election and in our Sankalp Patra as well. But the focus will be definitely to build roads, build bridges.
When you talk about building roads and building bridges,
infrastructure in rural
bridges
area.
with the minorities, so is that also priority? Is that required? Javed, closing down of these slaughterhouses, that many people will be unemployed, but that was one of the election manifesto promises of the BJP. What do you think that's going to lead to?
Look, they need slaughterhouses is just one of these things, and it's not a Hindu-Muslim issue. Closing down slaughterhouses. The biggest exporter of beef in this country is not a Muslim. So therefore, that should explain certain, put things in perspective. Having said that, there are other priorities in Uttar Pradesh. Uttar Pradesh needs development. Uttar Pradesh needs jobs. Uttar Pradesh needs basic infrastructure, and Uttar Pradesh needs, hospitals. I am sure, and at least this is my hope and prayer, that the new government of Uttar Pradesh will devote itself entirely to this. All these extraneous issues relating to religion and religiosity, etc., should be put on the side burner. Focus on development of Uttar Pradesh. That's what the people voted for you in for, and that is what they expect. The people of Uttar Pradesh will judge this government for its ability to deliver or the lack of it.
Okay, Ajit, if we were to talk about the issue of slaughterhouses, during election campaign, this was big. Now the government says that when we give facilities, it will be for all, electricity will be for all, not for Hindus or Muslims, as was alleged earlier. But will the issue of slaughterhouses be a tricky one for the government?
I think it would. See, if it's illegal, it should be shut down. Number one, but if it is legal, then there is no reason why you should shut down slaughterhouses. Now, if they have promised that in their election manifesto, or if they have promised that during election speeches, they probably will move towards it. But what we've been hearing from this morning, both from the Twitter note that came out of the UP Chief Minister's office, jobs and self-employment for the youth,
After that, we heard Prime Minister talking. Prime Minister talked of Vikas as the main sort of mudda of this sarkar. Right. Then we heard the Deputy Chief Minister talking of Vikas, Vikas and only Vikas. So obviously there seems that development seems to be the primary agenda for governance for the new administration. Okay. Now what will happen is out, the jury is still out. We will see what will happen. But as I was arguing, if they don't deliver on governance, yes, they'll fail the same way as the last two governments.
Okay, Nawab Saab, the issue of slaughterhouses, will that be big with the minorities? Because that was one of the issues that the government said, when the party said during elections, it is big for them. Illegal slaughterhouses, 300 plus, will be shut down. Now, if they are shut down, will it lead to a tense situation?
You see, legal slaughterhouses would remain there. Anything which is illegal has to be shut down. Either those illegal have to be made legal, otherwise they have to be shut down, and nobody should grudge about that.
Okay. Also the chants that were on in Gorakhpur, the chants of the BJP supporters and voters in Lucknow at the swearing in was all about, Jai Shri Ram, or talking about the Ram temple at Ayodhya. Now, just the chants or just the statements, would that lead to tension, Nawab Saab, in your opinion?
You see, the leaders should try to curb down their supporters, and the sentiments of the citizens of various castes and creeds should not be disturbed. Now the elections are over. What they were speaking earlier, that was for the mobilization of the votes. Now they have achieved the target. Now they should calm down their supporters, and such type of slogans should not be uttered in such a way so that the sentiments of the people are hurt and they are afraid, and this leads to certain problems. So there should be some reasonable compulsion on the supporters.
All right, with that, it's a wrap in this edition of News.